performing music, having something that's written down that you know was, that's what they played, and then we have a much better idea of what it sounded like because we have the physical right there. However, what we know of as music notation and what they originally used, sometimes it's really hard to decipher. So I have some examples written down of different early chants of the earliest notations that we have. As a note, there is an earlier notation than what is written here, which is called Byzantine notation, but as that is not Western European, I want to mention it. We'll pass. So, fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, the 99% of the music that we have, that earliest examples of written music is all from the Catholic Church, because they're the ones that had the scribes. They're the ones that had, the people that knew how to write, and they were the ones that were able to write down what they thought was important, and what they thought was important was the hymns and the chants that were used. Unfortunately, the earliest chants that they had at all, we don't really have any records of. This is called the Gallican chants. However, the Gregorian chants, which is what everyone thinks of when you first hear, what's medieval music? Oh, Gregorian chants. This is the time period where that's all happening. They were named for Pope Gregory I, and I really love this story, that the legend of how he got the melodies for these chants that have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years was that a dove flew down and whispered in his ear. And then they were then standardized by Charlemagne, and then over time they kind of morphed into one thing, that this was the chants of the church. And then that was it. You had these specific chants that were at different times, at different times of the day and different times of the year, and then for 200 years, that was it. That's what we had. And then two people came around, two of, I think, the rock stars of the 11th and 12th century. The first is Guido di Arezzo, who is the man that we have to thank for our modern day solfege. Do a deer, a female deer, Ray came from that old guy. So he was the one that came up with the original idea of syllables corresponding to notes, and where he got the concept of the syllables that we use in modern. The syllables that he used was from the Ut Cab Laxis, which is the hymn to St. John the Baptist, which is the music that I have at the bottom. On the left side is notation from I want to say it's the century, based on how I can't remember. And then on the right-hand side is the modern interpretation of what that is. And you can see symbol Ut Cean Laxis resonare fibris miragrestorum famuli taorum solve porti labierat sancte los annes. Ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. These six were originally what we had. Ut was then changed to do. C was added first, and that was taken from the names of San Johannes, S-I-C. So then you would have an entire da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then Ut was changed to Do in the 17th century because they wanted the solfege to all end on vowels, so that way it was easier for singers to use this as a tool to become better at sight reading, to become better at understanding intervals, which is why this was developed in the first place, because that's what you had. The monks who are looking at this aren't going to know, oh, well, that's a D, and that's an F right there. They're going to understand the interval relations between notes, which is, that's what you do when you sight read. When you're doing your first pass, you're not exactly looking at what the notes are, but you're looking, at least when I do it, I look at the intervals. What is it supposed to sound like? Is it just a da-dum, or do you have a bigger look, or do you have a bigger jump? Da da, do re, do fa. Knowing solfege is, in my opinion, crucial to being a very good sight reader, and we have Guido de Arezzo all those many years ago to thank for that. And then we get to the rock star of the 12th century. One of the loves of my life, Hildegard von Bingen, who is an incredible inspiration. She's so many things. She was an abbess, she was a theologist, she was a philosopher, she was a writer, she was a Christian mystic. She wrote all these treatises of these visions that she had. She was a poet, she was a composer, she was an herbalist and a scientist. She has books written of Know the Way with, Physica, which talks about different scientific and medicinal properties of all sorts of different plants and animals, and she has another book that is specifically for medicine, and she had migraines. She had terrible, terrible migraines, and we believe that the visions that she had came from these migraines, and as she grew up, she was in this very cloistered nunnery where you didn't speak to anybody for days on end, and you just communed with the divine. And so in that sort of environment, when you have these migraines, these pains in your head that strike you down and cause lights and sounds and visions to appear before you, you're going to think that that is the voice of God. And believe what you will. I am not condoning, or that is not why I am here. It is because of this that we have this most beautiful music. She was the first one with the record of using melisma, which is having these long, flowing phrases on one note. Gregorian chants, when you think of them, every syllable is its note. Maybe you have two if we're feeling fancy, but other than that, 1, 1, 1, 1. But Hildegard did not do such a thing. She had these beautiful, long, flowing phrases that I forgot to print out, so I wrote them in solfege. So that way I could. So, as I demonstrated, that was one of the Gregorian chants. In comparison, this is an excerpt of Hildegard's O quam mirabilis est. O quam mirabilis est. You see how they just have these long, beautiful, flowing lines, and if I had better warmed up this morning, I'm sure I could do that entire line in one go. But she was the first one to do that, to have these soaring phrases that weren't just, this is what we're doing, we are singing. She brought beauty to music in a way that was never seen before, and that is one of the reasons why I find her so incredible, that she was able to take the experiences that she had. Any of you who suffer migraines, could you imagine writing some of the most beautiful music? I mean, I know I certainly can. And these migraines were things that that affected her from very, very young. That she has records of. She says that she began having her visions at 4 or 5 years old, and they continued throughout the course of her life. It is because of that we have records of the beauty that was beginning. She's the first composer that we have a name to at all. Everybody before this was anonymous. We don't know. This chant has been around forever, and that's how it is. But she's the first one that we have. We know her name. We know who she was. We have the plays that she wrote. We have the music that she wrote. We have the hundreds of letters that she wrote. She produced so much in her lifetime, and so that is an incredible resource to know of, like, where music came from. And the little chart that I have on the bottom kind of starts with, sections us into our next, brings us to our next section.